Yes, this is like a video questions letter to Simon Parks. I have listened to multiple videos that you've done on YouTube. I've read some of the interviews. I've been on your website. And first of all, you say you're a contactee. I do want to say I do appreciate you getting the truth out as best to your ability and knowledge. I agree with some of it. There's a little bit I don't agree with. Some I have a hard time believing. It's not a knock on you, but you do raise about some very intriguing points. But in this video, I want to do is kind of like a questions that I would like to ask you personally. I'm not a journalist on YouTube or anything, but you know, I noticed that people can go to your website and send you emails and ask you questions, but you know, I went to your website and I wasn't able to do that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get to my list of questions that I feel need to be brought up because nobody else is asking these questions. And I would love to hear you or other contactees in the future answer these questions because I feel they're very important. And some I know for a fact are being left out deliberately. So I'm going to begin. I have a list of questions here. And I hope that you see this video or people you know you personally sees this video and sends it your way. I hope to hear some answers, you know, in a future article, interview, you know, however you want to do it, or contact me directly on YouTube. But I'm gonna go on to question number one. I'm gonna start with number one and then end with the last one, which I believe is okay. I have it written down. Hold on. Okay. My first question to you, Simon, is who is the Black Madonna? This never gets brought up for whatever reason. No one ever asks questions about her. Was this a black woman ET? If so, where did she come from? What were the origins of her star family? What planet did she come from? Was she connected to any of the races in Africa genetically? And if so, which ones? Also, was there any connections between her, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene? This is probably my number one question on here out of all of them because I've never heard anyone mention her ever in anything. You know, we hear people bring up Jesus, people bring up God, people have brought up the Shroud of Turin, but the Black Madonna always tends to be left out for whatever reason. I'm not going to speculate on what I think that's about, but I'm curious about her because I think she's a very important, very interesting figure. Let's go to the second one. Simon, I have noticed that there's a very large abundance of ancient statues of black people, fish people, and lizard people worldwide and all across the planet. And the lizard people are the only ones ever brought up in UFO circles and given a very long explanation to its possible origins. Why not the black looking statues or the fish looking statues ever discussed? Someone else brought this up. I believe the gentleman's name is Jamil Ross. He claims he's a channeler or a contactee. He brought up that exact same question, you know, to his audience, wondering that. And that's a really good question because that's something that really needs to be addressed. Let's go to the third one. Simon, Alex Collier did a video lecture back in 2002 speaking about how his ET contacts, the Andromeda Council, want to download all of humanity with Earth's history for the past 25 million years, at least, if not more than that. Alex never spoke about this ever again in future lectures afterwards. Have you seen this video I'm referring to? And if so, do you believe Alex Collier's Andromeda friends can do something like this? And do you believe this is a true story? And is this something that might happen for humanity in a not so distant future? Now, this video that I'm referring to it's a video he did in a small, it almost like a small classroom like setting. The video is very grimy and it looked like it was done, well, the video date I know is 2002, but it might have been done earlier than that, maybe late 90s, because whoever done that video did it with a crappy ass VHS camcorder. You don't even see video quality with that type of griminess about it today. So yeah, I'm curious about that, because Collier never brought that up, and I know he stopped speaking. But can they do something like that? This download. Please get back to me on this if you can. Here's a controversial one. Number 4. Can you tell us all in full details what Earth human races are directly linked or genetically linked to what extraterrestrial star races? This is something Alex Collier also talked about doing in past interviews that he's never done presently for some odd reason. But giving you an example of what I mean by Earth races, I would like to know who are the blacks related to genetically, who are the Arabs related to genetically, who are the Mexicans related to genetically, who are the Native American Indians related to genetically, who are the Irish related to it genetically, who are the Japanese related to genetically, etc., etc. Can you break it all down? This is a question that is never brought up, and this is something that should be brought up by all contactees, but for some odd reason this information is being hidden, and I know it's being done on purpose. Again, I don't even want to speculate. I think it is highly inappropriate that contactees, and I'm not pointing the finger at you specifically, is not revealing that information, because a lot of people want to know a lot of things, and I think this should have been came up a long time ago. Number 4, what human race or ET race built those giant heads on Easter Island, and for what purpose? What did these people look like? Can you give a description of the racial types? Those heads don't look like nothing, don't look nothing like any human being on Earth today. And that's very true. Nobody, even in the past, I don't even think we found skeletons with those type of heads. But I really would like to know who built these and why. And what did they look like? You know, please give a detailed description. What did these people look like? Thank you. Here's another interesting one. Number 6. Preston Nichols, the guy who speaks out about the Montauk in his interviews, mentioned that while doing one of the jumps in the jump room that he encountered the Anunnaki. He claims the Anunnaki look like tall, giant black Africans that had to have been around 9 feet tall. My God, that's amazing. Anyway, Simon, you said in one of your interviews that the Anunnaki were reptilian humanoids that are white skinned. Well, if that's true, what the hell did Preston Nichols see? That's a good question. What did he see? Tall black African aliens. They look like tall black Africans and 9 feet tall. I've never heard contactees ever mention aliens that look like that. So I would like to know that too. Number 7. What is the Bermuda Triangle, and is it a Stargate? The late Al Bielek, that was actually one of Preston Nichols' friends, claims that the government discovered that there was a crystal pyramid along with 3 giant crystals at the bottom of the ocean in the Bermuda, and that this thing was the key to causing people, airplanes, and ships to disappear. Is this true? Al Bielek to date is the only person, and I guess in the UFO field, if you want to call it that, slash government, that's ever mentioned anything about the Bermuda Triangle. I've never heard of other contactees mention this either. I don't know why the Bermuda Triangle never gets brought up. Number 8. This was a very bizarre one that I remember from childhood. I remember I first heard about this on Unsolved Mysteries, which was a show that was hosted by the late Robert Stack when I was a kid growing up in the 80s. But question number 8. Simon, in 1978, an Australian pilot named Frederick Valentek reported that a UFO was chasing his airplane. This went on for a while, and after his final message, which I think lasted somewhere around 17 seconds long, Valentek was never seen or heard from again. To this day, Valentek's body or his airplane or debris from the airplane has never been found. What happened to Frederick Valentek, and if he was abducted by ETs, which group was behind his disappearance and why? Number 9. What ET group designed the Nazca Plateau and for what purpose? It had to be an ET group because those simplistic geometric lines line up perfectly with other star systems. I've wondered that since I was a kid also. This is like one of my favorite world mysteries. You know, everyone talks about the pyramids, but I'd have to say the Nazca Plateau was probably my number one mystery. I've always wondered who made these and why. There's a contactee named Ray Kosalandich that claims that, and I don't know if this is true or not, as I have a hard time believing a lot of the stuff that Ray said, but Ray claims that an avian bird-like ET race made these thousands of years ago on Earth. But he never went into full detail as to why. But I would love to hear your take on who made the Nazca Plateau and why, where they were from and what they looked like. Number 10. What ET group that Norman Bergen wrote, who wrote the book, The Rainmakers of Saturn, see when he told Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot that these aliens look like very tall, really dark-skinned black people? Who was this group? I'm gonna just, throw it out there. I'm not big on Carrie Cassidy. I have a major problem with the woman. She likes to hide information. And I never forget, she told Clark McClellan the story about the tall black ETs that were helping out a NASA crew. And she purposely did not mention that those ETs were black. And there was the interview she did with Preston Nichols when he mentioned he saw ETs that looked at black. She didn't want nothing to do with it. Never brought it up again. Tried to brush it up under a rug. So I have a major problem with the woman, and I think she's full of shit in a lot of ways. But what black ET group was this that Norman Bergen saw? Because again, black ETs rarely, almost never get brought up in anything. Moving on. Number 11. Alex Collier told a woman asking questions in the audience at a lecture he had done about the Andromedans and the ETs. I guess the woman asked him how big were some of the spaceships, and his response was, he said that in the Andromedan galaxy they have, there's a race. He didn't say it was the Andromedan race, but he said that there was a race in that galaxy that has spaceships 2 times the size of the planet Jupiter. And it could house over 1 billion beings. Well, my question to that is, in connection to that, well, if this is true with all the problems Earth is having, why not just send a cloaked Jupiter-sized mothership to envelop the entire Earth, then deposit a barren planet in Earth's place to not disrupt the solar system, have the ship using holographic technology to recreate their sun. They just moved the planet to a protective part of space with a yellow sun and out of harm's reach. If they did something like that, then the Archons and the reptilians wouldn't be a problem for us anymore, or at least for a while anyway. And I'm wondering, has this ever been discussed? Has that ever been discussed? Has that ever been an option? Moving the planet Earth to a completely different part of space, and one that has a compatible yellow sun, white, or whatever the sun's real color is supposed to be. Because I heard it's white. Some say it's yellow. Some say it's white, but it looks yellow to me. Number 12. Billy Meyer. I heard one night on Coast to Coast AM someone from the Billy Meyer camp being interviewed. This wasn't Billy Meyer himself, but there was some people that worked with him. It might have been Michael Horn, Randy Winters, one of them people, one of his spokespeople. And the question was asked about invasion scenarios, and he spoke about how the Earth was going to be invaded in 1982 by a completely neutral ET group who wanted to terraform the planet after they found it, and how they wanted to kill everyone on the planet and take the Earth for themselves. Well, apparently the Pleiadians negotiated a deal with this ET group and gave them 2 compatible planets elsewhere, and in exchange for them leaving the Earth alone. Is this a true story, Simon? And if so, why would the Pleiadians interfere like that if the Earth is a prison planet? If these aliens would have come here and killed everyone and took the planet for themselves, wouldn't that have set all of humanity free? I've wondered that, because I listened to the alien, interview PDF and listened to you, Peggy King, and a few other people. Earth is a prison planet. If it is, why would any benevolent group stop them from destroying this place? Set us free. I don't want to be a prisoner no more. Shit. Let's go to number 13. This is another mystery I've always wondered about. Who created the Olmec heads and for what purpose? Was these people black, Native American, Indian, Mexican, Latin American? Or was it another ET group? And if so, who was this ET group that done this? It's really a crime that none of these questions get brought up about the ancient mysteries that's already on the planet. The ET stuff is good. I think the mysteries on the planet is even better, And again, I have a theory. I'm not going to say what it is of why this stuff isn't brought up. But I'm just curious who built these and why, and whose image is this supposed to be. Number 14. UFO contactee Mikhail Desmarket wrote a book called The Thea Uber Prophecy, which tells the story of an alien named Tau who took him to its planet and shown him Earth's ancient history and distant past, and told Mikhail that a race of black and yellow ETs called the Baccaratinians, who are the ancient galactic ancestors of African and Chinese people worldwide, was the first human races to see planet Earth. How much truth to this book that you are aware of and or know and feel is true? Also, why has none of Desmarquet's material ever been used or spoken about? This book, to my knowledge, has been out for 20 years. I think it came out around 1995. But I know the incident with Desmarquet happened in 87. This guy's never been interviewed on Coast to Coast AM that I'm aware of. Carrie Cassidy is never interviewed. Well, I don't think Carrie Cassidy would, just because of what he's talking about. But Coast to Coast AM has never interviewed the guy, and I'm just curious of what you think of his claim, because his claim is very interesting. He really goes into detail where a lot of people wouldn't. Number 15. Simon, why are the noses destroyed on the Sphinx and on several ancient African Egyptian artifacts? Can you also speak on the Egyptian controversy of what race these people were, when clear as day they all look like black people? I just had this conversation with somebody on Facebook earlier in the week. What is with these destroyed noses and what the hell are they trying to hide? We know what the people look like in Africa, so this made no sense other than to be just malicious. So I was wondering if you can clear that up for us all. Back to Alex Collier again. Alex Collier does say a lot of interesting things. It's just I wish more people spoke about some of his stuff. So a lot of it sounds like truths. Some of it sounds like lies with mixed in truths. The key is deciphering it all. But number 16, Alex Collier mentioned a video lecture he did in the late 90s that in 1985 the world government shot down an ET craft belonged to a race called the Teosetians. His ship crashed in North Dakota. They managed to get him out of the ship and then transported him underground to a base in Arizona, where they tortured this ET by removing his internal organs one at a time while he was still alive. According to Collier, an entire Teosetian fleet wanted to invade Earth just to get this guy back, and Andromedans and the Pleiadians had to physically step in and stop this group from doing it. My question is, if Earth is a prison planet, once again, why stop them from doing anything at all to help humanity be a little freer, especially if, they wanted to destroy the regressive regime on this planet? I don't get that one. Listening to that whole story he told really pissed me off. This is a prison planet, and they wanted to come in here and free us all, and they stopped this shit? Oh, that's some bullshit. It just, and I've heard, some really bad things about the Pleiadians are the reason why we're in this situation now. Collier mentioned it. Someone else mentioned it also. So, they owe humanity, as far as I'm concerned. Who are the tall black grays? Number 17. Who are the tall black grays that some abductees have reported? I know the drawing of this one has yellow eyes, but supposedly they have red eyes. They're very tall and have a feminine energy to them. It's supposed to be very aggressive. Here's a question that, I've really been wondering about for a long time. Number 18. When humanity moves into fourth density, my question concerns the disabled and the disfigured. Will the blind be able to see again? Will burn victims be able to heal their skin? Will people who lost limbs in accidents and to disease be able to regrow them? And people who lost internal body parts be able to regenerate them as well? This never gets brought up. All I hear is how healthy we'll be and a few other things, but as far as it goes, the disabled is never brought up, and I think that's a crime, but hopefully this question gets answered by you or someone someday. Number 19. What is the Black Knight satellite and what ET race created it and for what purpose? If this is real. But a lot of people swerving down it's real. Question number 20. Probably the most controversial question on that I have. Who's telling the truth about who the first human races were to see planet Earth? Simon, you claimed in an interview you did that it was some 12th density light beings, and that it's not telling, and that's not really telling anybody much of anything. It really isn't. I'm not even trying to be funny, but it's not. I mean, what light beings? What did these people look like? What human group, resembled this light being? But contactee Dr. Delbert Blair said it was a black race from Sirius. Contactee Mikhail Desmarket said it was a black and yellow race from Constellation Centaur. Robert Morning Sky said it was a black race from Sirius. Contactee Barbara Handcloud said it was a race from 8th Density Sirius. Former NASA employee Clark McClellan said it was a black race from Vega. Alex Collier claims it was the Lyrians and Assyrians who got here first, but he, just like you, didn't say what they looked like. You know, what was the racial types and the genetic types of this first group. And this is constantly being left out by other contactees as well. You know, I was lucky to get the information I did get from the few that claims that it was a black group or it was a black and Asian group that came here first. But I would like to know, what did these people look like? What were the racial types? Thank you. Number 21. How much of Errol's story is true in the alien interview PDF? Her video is all over YouTube as well, and you can download the book for free. Who is the domain that she's a part of? What race is this? Who is the old empire supposed to be? Was this the people who created the archons? Is it supposed to be the reptilians or the Anunnaki? Who is she talking about? Question number 22. Was Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, Bobby Kennedy, and Barack Obama sole incarnates of galactic politicians? Were they political in Earth's ancient past as well? Can you discuss their possible star families? Number 23. Former NASA employee William Rutledge has put some video footage on YouTube that shows what appears to be the corpse of a woman with Negroid and Mongoloid looking features with braided hair that NASA found in a wrecked spaceship on the moon. Is any of this for real? Who was this woman? What race was she? What planet was she from? Clearly looks like a black woman to me, with a little bit of Asian in her. And black people are the only people that have braided hair like that on the planet, and big lips. So she may be a galactic cousin of black people. Matter of fact, she does kind of like somebody I went to school with. Interesting. Here's another question nobody brings up. Number 24. What ET group made the crop circle with a message in it discussing their DNA structure, how many planets they live on, what they use for communication, what is their chemical composition, and their home world, etc. Also, what does the conduit closing supposed to mean? Contactee Barry Littleton claims that Akhenaten and the elongated skulls found throughout Africa was part of a melanated race of hybrids called the Sons of God ETs. Who is this ET group, and are they still political players on Earth today presently? I always kind of figured those elongated skulls were aliens. Question number 26. Many years ago, this was a few years ago, I'd say maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I was listening to an episode of Coast to Coast AM, and I heard a white guy. He wasn't a British white guy. He was like a white guy. Sounded like he was an American white guy. He said he was in Africa. And I know he was either talking to George Norrie or Art Bell, one of them. I can't remember which one. And he said that he was driving somewhere in Africa. I can't remember where exactly. And he was driving off of a country road, and he saw a UFO, like a silver disc shaped almost. It might have been cylindrical, but I can't remember the exact details. He said he pulled off the road, walked up to this thing, and he said that two women got out of the ship. They looked like tall black women between 6'5" and 7 feet tall. He said that they had longer arms, longer fingers, and they had very sharp triangular ridged faces. The lower bottom of their face were very triangular shaped. I don't know what that means. I never saw a drawing that he provided. Do you know what group he's talking about? Tall black women between 6'5" and 7 feet tall, longer fingers, triangular shaped lower jaws, very long arms, long fingers. If you know who this group is, can you please explain and tell us who it is? Because again, black ETs are very rare. They're very rarely reported. Number 27. Why are all of the human-looking ETs blonde hair, and blue eyes, and white or blue skin? Why is this a consistent theme with contactees, and none of these are, none of these Earth human-looking ETs rarely resemble no other races on the planet? And this is something, there's a big controversy with that going on right now. A lot of people are talking about that because people want to know, why do all the aliens that look like humans are white? We always get a description of them being white also. And when it's the ones that don't look like human beings, the ones that look like lizards, we get a description. Ones that look like frogs, ones that look like ants, praying mantis, etc. When they look like earth animals, we get a full detail of what they look like. When they look like earth humans, they're either blue skinned people or white skinned people with blonde hair and blue eyes. What's up with that? I'm not trying to be racist or funny or nothing. I think that's very odd that they don't look like nobody else. They don't look black. They don't look Asian. They don't look Arabic. They don't look like Pacific Islanders. They don't look like Polynesians. They don't look like Samoans. I'm curious as to why we continuously get ETs that either look, the ones that look human are either blue skinned people or white people with blonde hairs and blue eyes. And I feel this really needs to be explained in full detail in the UFO circles. Question 28. Twin contactees, sisters, Earlene Carr and Shirlene Wallace, claims that Mars is predominantly black, meaning black people are the majority on the planet Mars. Contactee Mikhail Desmarquet, who wrote about the black Vacaratinian race going to Maldek, Mars, and in Earth in his book The Theo Uber Prophecy, is the only other contactee that backs up that blacks were on Mars also. I've never heard this from anybody else. So that's just one contactee that validates her story. It's funny how Carrie Cassidy, once again, the infamous Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot has interviewed, what's that guy's name? Captain Mark Richards and several super soldiers, and they have never, not once, talked about black people on Mars and that they were the majority. And I'm just curious as to why that is. And are these women lying about this? And is the other contactee, Mikhail Desmarquet, a white man, by the way, is lying about this as well? I just find them very interesting. It's very rare to see black contactees speaking out. Excuse me. So they also, one of them wrote a book, From the Motherland to the Mothership. I've never read the book, but I've heard them being interviewed, and one of them have been on Coast to Coast AM. So I think that's interesting. It did catch some people's attention. Number 29. There's been an awful lot of talk about the moon having some diabolical technology on it, which is apparently responsible for maintaining the electromagnetic grid that is trapping our souls on Earth after we die. Now my question is, my question in connection to this is, what about the sun? What will happen if a person dies and their soul escapes the grid trap and races towards the sun and then enters it? Then what? People are always talking about the moon, but never really the sun. So what would happen? Is that our ticket out of here, out of this trap, out of this matrix that we're stuck in by the archons and the reptilians? Number 30. This is my last question, and it is, who are these giant skeletons? What race were they? Giant skeletons have been found for a very long time, and they're not really talked about, probably for obvious reasons. They don't want to scare people, but I'm just curious as to who they were, what race they were, what did they look like, what were their skin tones, where did they come from? You know, there's ever been a lot of talk about these guys also. I remember Billy Meyer, Randy Winters did a video for Billy Meyer, and Billy Meyer actually met, it was like a cartoon illustration, but he met with these giant humanoids, and I never forget, Randy Winters said in the video, the video was really old too, it came out like back in 1986, almost 30 years ago, but he said in the video that when they left Lyra after the wars or something, they went to planets where the gravity was different, so they grew and got really bigger. But if it wasn't for that, they would be our size. So I don't know how true that was. I thought it was very intriguing, and I thought it was interesting he would tell a story like that back in the 80s, and then I come across these giant skeletons that are being dug up. And I always wondered, was that a connection there? Well, thank you, Simon. I hope that I get the answers to my questions one of these days from you or from other contactees, you know, or other people that are contactees that are listening to this video. Like I said, a lot of these questions are not asked. None of them are stupid questions. None of them are boring questions. I believe they have some very, very intriguing answers. Just waiting for them around the corner somewhere. But these are very important questions to me, and I hope they get an answer for them soon. Well, this is me signing off, and I shall be waiting.